Hey guys, what's up? This is little Chris here. I'm back today to make a video about the dreadful cams and how I tune the car and how I make power. First of all, when it comes to cams, it's a little tricky. I prefer all motor cams over turbo cams. Turbo cams do close the overlap, so boost does not come out the exhaust, and they're great. Low and mid-range, strong cams, they make power up top. I'm more of an all-motor cam. I treat my 4Gs like Hondas. Hondas make good power, actually more power on all-motor cams. It's just the way they design. I treat the 4G like the Honda, even though it's not designed the same, but I get some different kind of results from it, copying the way we do Hondas. Now, as far as timing on the cams, you have to play with a degree with the cams. Stock motor cams like boost. Stock big port cams are good on boost, great on boost. If there's more power, you can get more potential by playing and knowing what you're doing with the cams and moving the power band around. Now I have bigger cams now, so I move the power band up top. I can move it down by closing the overlap. I can have my cams advanced to make more low end, more mid-range. The problem is I have too much torque, and torque means nothing without horsepower. So I have a lot of horsepower and torque, so then the torque actually matters then and there. No horsepower, torque means nothing. Horsepower and torque. You can have a lot of torque and have 100 horsepower, for example, and you're not going to go nowhere. A car with less torque is going to beat you that has more horsepower. So that's what I mean. Now I have horsepower and torque. So now that being said, having aggressive setup, advanced cams, I'm going to spin a lot, and I did spin a lot. And yeah, it was powerful, spun a lot, you need good grip, good traction, that's great. You know, you can do that if you want to brake boost on somebody, you're looking for low RPM power, mid-range. If you have a 4AG and you need some down low, but you don't want to sacrifice top, you can do a little advance. You can do more advanced, get more mid-range, more low-range power, but you lose up top. And that's my scenario. I have a lot of horsepower fast and a lot of torque down low, so I was having issues with traction, even with the LSD. So I moved the power band up. So if you would see my car on a dyno, the power band doesn't just go up like that, like some other cars, and you just see them wheel spin all over the place. My car, for one point, was going more like an all-motor setup. But the graph is like this. I don't release the graph because I have rivals out there, and I have other people trying to compete against me. So my dynos are kind of personal. But let me go back to the cam thing again. I dialed in these cams, and on the dyno, it didn't like boost. These all motor cams did not like boost. I mean, I put 36 psi, almost 40 psi boost to it, and it came straight out the exhaust. The car sounded amazing. On the street, it was like driving an all motor powerful K series car, but boost come out the exhaust, wasting a lot of fuel and creating a lot of heat. So we had to balance it. Okay, how can we get all motor power and some boost power to get the sweet spot? We had to play with the cams, hours, pull after pull until we found the sweet spot. It made less power, but it was right in the middle where we needed the car to be. If you watch my last 7AG project movie, you'll see the car, how it reacts on top end. It just doesn't have doesn't do all that craziness. It just goes. So it's like we find some balance. Yes, I have some overlap. If you see the last video again, you'll hear the car erratic idle. It's camming. It's making that sound because it's more in between the turbo and all motor setup, with the cams being how the overlap is open. It's not too open where I'm blowing boost exhaust, and it's not too close where close means like more turbo cars like close, the overlap being more close, less scavenging. So what happens is you'll make power fast. Yeah, I make power and torque, serious power and torque, closing overlap. But what happens is when I get up top, the car was dying, because as you more the motor spins and spins, the engine has less time to get the air past the valves into the cylinder filling. So you have to take that in consideration. So I moved the power band up by changing the overlap to a certain degree and retarding and advancing some parts to move it to the sweet spot. So you guys, if you're on the dyno and you need mid-range, low range, you can advance the cams. If you have too much, you can retard them a bit to kind of balance it out, but you have to be on the dyno a lot. Not only when your car on the dyno a lot, it's good to save a lot of extra maps, so you have it for different scenarios. So you can adjust your cams and upload different maps into your software, so you can have different, maps for different scenarios or type of racing. Another thing too is if you look at my last video, you can see that power band, how it's working. Those time on the dyno we had issues, but we found the sweet spot, and it was very aggressive, but in a nice all-motor way. Look at the last video and you'll see that I'm up 5,000 RPM, and then you should see the pull, and it looks like I'm bouncing off 7,005 RPM or 7,000, but the tach is actually off because it's wired into the computer versus supposed to be wired into the dizzy. So I'm getting a delayed signal. So that's another thing, it kind of throws people off, like, hey, how's he revving at 8 and 9? He's bouncing off the 7. Just look at the video and you'll see there's a first pull, it goes more, it just can't keep up with the thing, with the software signal to the tach can't keep up, so I wire it into the dizzy. But if your gears are short, like mine, you're gonna have some issues. You get a lot of power down low, so you might want to move the power band up top, find the sweet spot, which will really help. In my case, again, the car was a monster up top. We moved it so high up top, so to minimize the wheel spin. We've had the tires at 10 psi. We had 3 people on top of the roof. We even pulled the car down with the straps even tighter and lower the psi to 10 on the tires. Tracked by all that, you name it. We did whatever we could to keep the car from spinning, and it spun all the way in 4th and 5th gear on the dyno. On the street, not so much because the dyno is smooth. The street it hooked really well, felt really great. It was just a sweet spot. Had that all motor feel once again, and turbo feel without being so aggressive. So if you go back to the last video, you'll see the car just instantly goes and forth, and it did a good spin with the tires, because I forgot to turn the PSI down on the tires. I had them high that day I made the video, but I had the windows down too. But guys, play with the cams. You have to play on the dyno a lot. I mean a lot. But once you find, if you're a turbo car and you won't have an all motor cam, and you find the sweet spot in your overlap where you close it up completely if you want, or a little bit in between, like me, I'm in the sweet spot in between. So I have some overlap because, like I said earlier, the higher you rev, the faster, you have, the less time you have cylinder filling. So once you find the sweet spot in the overlap between the valves, then you can move them advanced or retard together if you want, or you can split them apart more and then just have the power band all over the place. But I mean, you have to find the sweet spot and then advance retard from there. Some people just advance and retard only, and then they leave it that way, but you can advance and retard and then also move them the same degrees together apart and change the power band, but not too much, because then the car can drown out or you can mess up something. So you have to move in tiny increments of them together once you find your sweet spot, like I have. My block is not decked, for example, so I don't have to worry about being interference. People say, whoa, that's not right. You have to deck the block to have the piston to height deck. I never did that, and that's one of my secrets. Most people do that, which is the proper way. I never have done that because I know how I drive and how I'm running the car. It's decked surface, but it's not too flush with the piston. That is another thing. It's probably another story, because I use certain kind of gaskets, and I like to keep my motor non-interference, So I compensate for that in my tune and put a little more boost and other things. But anyhow, back to the cam. Affecting power band. There was a time where my tune was set up high because I had the short 4AGE gears, and to minimize wheel spin, because I didn't have slicks, but I have street radials. If I had slicks, it'd be different. I wouldn't have to move the power band up top. But another example, like I was saying, is I put a C52 from a 70 FE, which is a longer final drive. Same gear ratio, longer final drive. Threw my power band off, changed my whole tune. My AFRs went all over the place differently, more rich because it was getting more load. Changed my whole tune, so I had to change the power band, move the big port cams in a different area, and move the power band more toward the 7/8 transmission. It did spool quicker, but my tune was off, and just power felt misplaced, moved around. It felt good, don't get me wrong, it just felt moved around, so I had to adjust to that. And then when I got the E series transmission, it almost felt like it was kind of both transmissions combined. It felt like a 4G and a 7A, you know, which was really, I like the most. I like the E series. I like long gears, and I do like short. That's why, once again, I rev higher in second gear and in fourth gear. But I had to change these cams that we dialed in, you know, like I said, I changed the overlap to where I wanted it and then moved them together to where I needed it to be. And that's why, you know, once again, I'm repeating myself, kept the motor non-interference to able to do certain things and keep things safe. I like to live dangerously, but I also like to play it safe sometimes. So I didn't deck the block for that reasons, you know. There's a lot of secrets we guys keep, other people keep in their tunes and in their builds. Me, I mean, anybody can make more power than me. Anybody out there can make more power than me. I make more power towards usable as much as I can. I mean, if I wanted to go make 700-800 horsepower, oh, that'd be a breeze for me. It's not always about making all this power. It's where you're making usable power, you know, like 400 wheel with good tires and a good cam setting is great. I have actually run 470 wheel one time on a tune, and it was unfortunately reckoned with down low all the way to high. This setup was more of a highway queen setup now with this cam, so I was more highway. I've always been a highway racer, but the last setup was 470 wheel. I actually made less power, went down to make the power band different because I was in the streets more. I was driving the car more. I was more locally in the streets, racing around. Now I'm not in the streets. I was much more in the highway now. So this tune setup is back to that. I mean, I could actually load up my previous maps, set the cans back, and go back to my other tune. So that's a good thing. Also saving your maps. And there's a lot of power to be found with plain cams. Not as much as all motor, but more in boost. You will see. So if you guys have a all motor cam and you're planning to go boost, learn how to play and find the sweet spots in your advancing or retarding, depends on your cam. Every cam is different, your setup. And then from there, you can a little bit move them, advance or retard together once you find the sweet spot. You know, you can keep them, but not too much because you could damage or bend a valve or something if your motor is set up like that with thin gaskets and all that other crazy stuff. So remember that comes into mind as well. So that's why I don't deck my block. So I'm able to do these little bit of satanic tuning, messing around and breaking the law of building engines. But hey guys, I mean, it's not much for me to really say, but another thing making power is your, what you want to say, valve lash. There is power to be hidden in valve lash. There's power in it. Tighter valve lash versus looser valve lash, depending on your tune, your setup, what you're running. You can play with different valve lash to help more low end, also as more top end. You can be balanced. You can be more tight, more loose. It all depends on preference. Look into it, read about it. Some people have different results from it. Some people get tighter lash, get more top end. Some people get looser valve lash and get more top end. So it all depends on the motor, compression, how it's built, you know, everything. That you can play with on a dyno. Let me see. But yeah, tuning. You can have an aggressive tune on E85 like me to help low end. Like this tune now is a little more aggressive on low end. I have a lot more timing down low to close up the ring gap as well, and that's another story. That ring gaps, you know, that's very important, and I should talk about that now. I'm in the video. Ring gaps are like one of the biggest things. You can get too big, you can blow all boost to your crankcase. I have some very big gaps, not too big, but they're pretty in the right spot. I mean, I watch each motor tear down and I see where my gaps are. And one time I saw spiral rings because the rings were budding and scraping. So I move them up another millimeter or so on another motor, saw the same thing. Or when I tear down and refresh the engine, I said, okay, let me go a bit more. So I found what's the best for between 30 to 40 pounds of boost. Not so much for the 20s, but more in the high boost. And now I have a spot where, because I have the aggressive tune, my tuner closes up the ring gap. I didn't know that was possible, but you can add timing and it closes up the ring gap so you don't get too much crankcase pressure blowing your dipstick out, all over the place and oil shooting up. But I do have to change my oil a lot more often. I change my oil every about 15 and 18,000 miles if I'm driving a lot, because E85 will get fast rings into the oil and you don't want to dilute it, it's been a bearing. So I treat the car, it's a race car, you gotta spend a lot of time into it. So ring gaps, if you're running high boost, I do recommend between 18 to 19 on the top rings and between 20 to 24 on the bottom. Depends on how much you're going, from between 20 to 30 to 40 pounds of boost. I recommend those around those ranges. You just have to find where you are by rating how much boost, and depending on the bore as well. So that's another thing. I mean, that's what I run. I usually don't tell a lot of people my ring gaps, but that's what I'm going to be releasing. My ring gaps right now, and this is currently on this setup, is 19.5 on the top, and the bottom is actually 23.5. So they're almost 24. I spent about 6.5 hours doing my ring gaps every time I build a motor. I do it by hand. I'm going to take my time, but those are my ring gaps, top and bottom. And there's no budding, there's no scratching at 35, 36 pounds of boost. So, and that's for mid-size turbo. That was back in the GT35. This turbo is a GT question mark. I'm not going to tell you guys. It's a totally different turbo wheel into a modified housing that was over Gary. So I have modified the housing, and it's an AR82 housing, but it's split board a little bit more open. So I'm not going to tell that I released that. Sorry guys. And the wheel is a better wheel. It spools a bit faster. Comes in pretty good, but like I said, I wish I could squeeze a little more out in this video, but I don't want to drag the video out too long. What else can I tell you guys? Help you guys in your journey to make power, which most of you out there can make way more power than me. It's just getting in the right spot. If you're on street tires, or if you're on motor, I mean, you can move timing up to 35, 36 degrees. Plate the cams. Cold air intake is another good thing if you're all motor. Cold air intake is really good. Or have some kind of velocity cold air intake. Some people run out the headlight. That's been a big thing. I've seen results for that in the dyno, having that little intake come out. Boost. I mostly do boost now. I wish I could get into all motor, make all the motor videos, but I'm not going to be doing any more 7AGs and 4AGs anymore. And if I do another engine project, it's going to be K series, because this motor is called Project 7AG Last Dragon, and I accomplished the goal on it. But I would love to put a K in here, and I think that's the next set. That's the next level. It's the K series. And some of you guys are like, no, it's black for me, but one day these motors are going to be hard to find. They're going to be impossible, and you got to go to what's the next best thing. This or 2AZ or 2ARFE. Any of those other motors are great. A lot of wiring headaches, a lot of new electronics. I like simple engines, so I think the K series is the best bet. But guys, if you go on boost, play with the cams, get the right oils, check everything, man. Once you do everything right, machine everything, balance your bottom ends. If you're going to be revving past 8 grand, with some comments I saw today, can I rev a 7.8 bottom end that high? Yes, you can. I repeat, yes, you can, but you have to balance everything. Everything. You have to balance it. Don't be like me. I push motors to the max to see if they break a handle. That's what I did to make these videos for you guys. But you guys have to balance everything. Don't over tighten timing belts like crazy. Don't over tighten pulleys too crazy, because what happens is on the pulley side, you pull the crank upward or sideways or whatever, and it closes the gap on the bearing to the crank. And it's true. I've seen it happen to me before, over tightening like crazy. So don't do that. But balance everything, guys. You have to balance it. If you want to play the game safe, balance, because when you balance the rods, one rod can be 2 or 3 grams off from the other, and with all that spinning and high RPM, And especially with a 7/8 stroke, 8,000 RPM is like 95 in the Honda. The piston speed's crazy. That force changes from those grams off on the rod to that journal. So 2 grams can turn into 300 to 400 foot-pounds of force added to that one particular rod. Something like that. Don't quote me on that, but around those crazy loads extra, and can throw the crank up. But when you have everything balanced, everything's just smooth. It revs smooth. The engine is just immaculate. So for you guys out there, you want a reliable motor, or to keep it more reliable, and a high boost like me, you need to balance the bottom end. I can't stress that now, because I don't want you guys to follow my path. I had the resources, I had the cash at the time to go on this journey to figure out 7/8 through my whole year since the 90s. Don't be like me. I'm here to do that for you guys. So balance the bottom ends. Take that into consideration. You take that into consideration as well. Stupid fan. You can rev to 82. To those out there who are wondering, you can, but you have to do it right. I mean, if you do it stock, you may get away for a while, you may damage something, you may spin a bearing in the future. Who knows? But I mean, you can take your time and do it right. You can keep your red line with less if you're too worried. 7,500 is still pretty good. 80,000 is still good. Now, if you're gonna go crazy like me, push it to 9 once in a blue moon, you might get away with it. I'm here to destroy things for you, like I said. Not you guys to destroy it and empty your pockets and then come blaming me. I do that for you. This is why I make these videos. I'm always a step ahead. So once again, I repeat myself again, balance it. Please balance out there, guys. Balance your bottom ends. Play with the cams. Set it up to where you know that belt snaps or something, that you're not gonna destroy the motor. I mean, if you guys are out there going with high lift cams, that's a different story, because now you're in a different zone of a different area of belt snapping. It becomes non-interference. Who knows? I don't play with cams that big. But I'm gonna finish this video now, and I know I said that already, probably, because I have a lot of things to do today. I have to gas up this, to work on the Honda. Just do it right. Don't be afraid to do things different. Like I always say, try something new. You might find something coming out of your comfort zone. Don't be in a box, And I pray for you guys out there who do drive reckless, like some of my friends, that God blesses you and keeps you guys safe. He's always trying to reach out to you guys. Jesus loves you all. Some of you guys don't know him yet, and you should know him. He's a truth way in life. The world's coming to an end slowly. I mean, people have been saying 1,000 years, but it's coming slowly. You can see the world just getting crazier and nuts every year. But I want you guys to not just build your cars, but I want you guys out there to seek God and put him in your life, apply him to your life, and let him show you guys, get away from these distractions of the world. Save your soul, so we can all meet someday in the afterlife and on the new earth when he rebuilds the earth, and maybe we'll be building cars together or something in the future. So guys, love you guys. Take care.